Hi, everyone. Hello. Welcome to an all new episode of Wildlife Wednesday. My name is Megan Leslie. I'm president and CEO of World Wildlife Fund Canada. Thank you for joining us. Here at WWF Canada, we're working towards a future with abundant wildlife where nature and people thrive. And we work with wildlife from coast to coast to coast and around the world in places like Nepal. I'm really excited about today's episode because we're talking about one of the world's most iconic and vulnerable large mammals. We are talking about rhinos. See, I work at WWF Canada, but we're part of a global network and we work alongside our partners at WWF-Nepal to conserve rhinos and their habitats. Now, a few years ago, I was lucky enough I was able to travel to Nepal to meet with WWF colleagues and see some of their conservation work in action. And while I was there, I got to see a greater one-horned rhino. It was pretty thrilling. A big old elder grazing by himself in a clearing, didn't really care about us in our Jeep. We were at a safe distance snapping photos and taking in the magic of the moment. But seeing one rhino definitely does not make me a rhino expert. So luckily today we're joined by Dr. Rinjan Shrestha, an actual rhino expert. Rinjan is a lead specialist on WWF Canada's Science, Knowledge and Innovation team. He's most known for being an Asian big cat expert, so think tigers and snow leopards. But he's worked with a lot of other species throughout his career, including rhinos. And we're lucky to have Rinjan with us today to guide us on our journey to learn more about these massive creatures. Rinjan, welcome. And why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and introduce our topic today?
Thanks, Megan. It is really nice to be here today with our amazing supporters. Speaking of myself, I was born and raised in Nepal and joined WWF in 2008, right after completing my doctoral studies at the University of Life Sciences in Norway. My primary role is to help our colleagues in designing and implementing conservation plans to save threatened wild animals. So in doing so, I spend extended period out in the field studying these animals and interacting with local people. And Megan, I consider that is one of the best parts of my job. And I am actually currently engaged, as you said earlier, working with Asian big cats. But my first assignment with WWF was to count rhinos in the Chiton National Park.
Your first
Back,
one.
yeah, that was my first assignment indeed. And Megan, you see, rhinos are one of the most beautiful and longest living creatures of this planet. They're also referred to as ecosystem engineers because of the important role that they play in shaping the environment that they inhabit. So, in doing so, they provide lots of benefits to other species, their habitat, and local communities. So, it is certainly a good feeling to be talking about them today.
Ecosystem engineers. What a great term. I look forward to exploring that a little bit more with you. Thanks so much for that intro. Rinjan, just for folks who are watching us, wouldn't it be great to hear from them? So if you have, I don't know, maybe you've seen a rhino, maybe you want to share your love for rhinos. If that's the case, the chat is all yours. So feel free to chat in the chat with us at WWF or with other viewers. Share your rhino stories if you have them. What drew you to wanting to watch this webinar about rhinos today? We'd love to hear your stories. So Rinjan, let's get started. We'll warm everyone up with some interesting quick facts about rhinos. I'm gonna ask you some quick, like a hummingbird questions, and you'll have to answer them to the best of your ability. How does that sound?
Sounds great, Megan. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Here we go. How many species of rhinos are there?
Uh, Megan, our planet is home to five species of rhinoceros: the black and white rhino, which are found in Africa, and the Sumatran, Javan, and greater one-horned rhino, which inhabit the forests and grasslands of Asia.
Okay, five different ones. All right. How I've mentioned a couple of times that they're these massive animals. How big are they exactly?
Oh, they are really big. They are actually some of the biggest animals in the world. The largest of the five species is the white rhino, which can grow up to 1.8 meters tall and weigh up to whopping 3,500 kilograms.
Wow.
That is equivalent to a combined weight of three Honda Civic sedans. and, and the species that we will be focusing on today is the greater one-horned rhino, which can weigh up to 2,200 kilograms, two Honda Civic sedans.
So 1.8 meters tall, that's just like a little bit taller than me, but I am nowhere near 3,500 kilograms. That's huge. Okay, next up, where does the word rhinoceros come from? My guess, it sounds a bit like words to describe dinosaurs, like triceratops. So maybe it's Greek?
Absolutely right. Yes, it is from Greek language, and rhino means nose, and ceros is horn. So, which is, I believe, a perfect name for these animals because they are known for their horns.
Perfect name. So speaking of their horns, I've always wondered, what are they made out of?
A rhino horn is comprised of thousands of compressed hair-like strands, which is made up of a substance called keratin, a kind of protein which forms the basis of our hair and nails.
Oh, so not it's not bone or
N-
horn. Well, it is
No,
horn, but
yeah, it is not bone. It's not. It's very compressed hair
yeah.
actually. Yeah,
Oh,
can be
interesting.
very tough. Yeah.
Now, speaking of tough, I've heard that rhinos are big and powerful. They're pretty tough, but that they actually can't see very well. Is that true?
That's correct. They have poor vision and they are unable to see a motionless person at a distance approximately 30 meters.
Hmm.
So, Megan, and they mainly rely on strong sense of smell and hearing.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for answering those short snappers. I feel like we've learned a lot already. Now, Rinjan, you mentioned we would be focusing on the greater one-horned rhino today, one of the 5 species of rhino. So, why don't you tell us a little more about the greater one-horned rhino?
For sure, Megan. Weighing 1,800 to 2,200 kilograms with a distinctive single black horn, these hawking armored giants seem impenetrable and unstoppable. In reality, they are one of the most vulnerable large animals in the world. And these amazing creatures were pushed to the brink of extinction at the start of 20th century, mainly because of hunting. And once widespread throughout Asia, greater one-horned rhinoceros are now only found in Nepal and India. But thanks to decades of conservation efforts, their population is slowly recovering, and current counts are close to 4,000 individuals.
Oh.
So the greater one-horned rhino is one of Asia's most impressive conservation success stories. But Megan, we cannot let this success lull us into believing that our job is done.
Of course.
While rhino numbers have increased, the rate of growth has slowed down in recent years. So more rhinos can trigger competition over food and space, as well as increased conflict with humans. So as the rhino population grow, so too must our conservation efforts.
Rinjan, that is such a great point because sometimes we think that we're successful when the numbers of a species that has grown. It's like, oh, the work is done. We can hang up our gloves, but that's clearly
Yeah.
not the case. Conservation work has to continue so that we can adapt to new challenges, like what you pointed out, new challenges that are presented over time. But still, there is a conservation success story in there, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us. It's inspiring to hear the impact of our work can really be seen on the ground in places like Nepal. So, speaking of Nepal, I heard that you just came back, didn't you?
Yeah, I was back last week.
Oh my
Actually, it's been
goodness,
10 days.
you're probably still jet lagged. What time is it? So you got to see some firsthand work that WWF Canada is supporting there. Before you tell us all about your trip, though, the most important question: did you see a rhino?
Yes, of course. I saw not one, not two, but three rhinos.
Three.
And I captured them on my camera. So here is some footage of the rhino sightings during my field visit to Nepal, Megan. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Rinjan Shrestha, WWF-Canada's Asian species specialist. I'm in Chiton National Park now. Me and my team are here for a couple of hours now on the lookout for rhinos, and we have spotted one. This hulking species was nearly hunted to extinction at the start of the 20th century, with only a few hundred left in the world. Thanks to decades of conservation efforts, rhinos are slowly making a comeback here. In fact, there are 694 rhinos in this park and close to 750 in all of Nepal. This park is a home for the second largest population of rhinos in the world. Today, habitat loss is one of the greatest threats this hulking giant faces. More rhinos need more space and food. I'm also keeping my eyes open for tigers and elephants. This region is one of the few places in the world where these iconic mega species roam together. Protecting rhino habitat is good for many species.
Oh my goodness, Rinjan. I don't know why I'm whispering like I'm going to scare away the rhinoceros. That was awesome. Those rhinos look, I don't know if this is the right word to use, but they look so gentle.
That's exactly what I was feeling when I filmed this video.
Yeah.
But you should not be fooled by the calmness and try to get move closer, because they can attack at the last moment out of blue. Especially mothers with calf can be very very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
But ordinarily, rhinos do not follow humans to attack, Megan. But they can raid crop fields
Mm.
mainly during nighttime, and this is one of the fundamental issues being faced by local people, and which is contributing to human rhino conflict. And and there are various solutions being proposed and implemented to mitigate this conflict situation. So, but as a wide-ranging animal, I think one of the longer-term solution would be to secure habitat corridors in order to give
Yeah.
them a free and safe passage to travel between adjacent habitats.
Well, I mean, even in your video, you talked about how the importance of habitat, and we know that's what wildlife needs. And when you have different areas that are habitat, that those corridors, that safe passage between habitats are really important. So speaking of wildlife corridors, we do have another clip from Rinjan's trip where he talks a bit more about the importance of these corridors. Take a look.
Habitat corridor. It is a biological corridor that links Bardia National Park with the protected area in India. WWF-Nepal, in partnership with local communities and government, has been working on this corridor for the past 15 years. The corridor is now very functional with presence of tigers, elephants, and even rhinos. And this corridor is totally managed by local communities, indigenous communities.
Totally managed by local communities. What a success story. You know what,
Yeah.
Rinjan? I have been there to that spot. And it's amazing because when you think about border crossings, that does not look like your typical border crossing. It looks like habitat. So it's really great to know that we're helping wildlife and people thrive in such a variety of different ways. Now, Rinjan, a lot of the efforts that you mentioned are beneficial to the overall park and the different species that live there. You talked about how habitat supports all these species. But what about more specifically to the one-horned rhino? What kinds of efforts are ongoing to help this species in particular?
Megan, before answering this question, let me briefly explain the key challenges that
Yeah,
Rhino
please.
is facing today.
Yeah.
Uh, Habitat loss and fragmentation is one of the biggest threats. This is mainly due to encroachment by people living close to rhino habitats and infrastructure like irrigation canals, roads, and railways that come with human settlement. In, in addition to this, drying up of wetlands and invasion by non-native plant species such as Milo minute weed are other challenges that needs to be urgently tackled.
That's a lot of threats. Jeez.
Yeah, but we have started to work on it. We are working with our partners on the ground to restore wetlands and grasslands. And also, we have recently worked with government of Nepal to develop a policy guideline for wildlife-friendly infrastructure.
Hmm.
We're also working with local communities to implement proven solutions to mitigate human-wildlife conflict. And, and an interesting way we are helping rhino is by relocating them.
Okay.
A tactic we call translocation, Megan.
Translocation.
Yeah, rhinos are moved from densely populated areas to the places where there is more
Mm.
habitat available for this voracious vegetarian to eat and roam. I'm gonna show you a video of a site called Babai Valley of Bardia National Park, Nepal, where rhinos were recently translocated. This video is also from my recent field trip to Nepal, Megan.
There it is.
So, Megan, while habitat loss is one of the biggest threats to the greater one rhino, there is still ideal unused habitat in the country, including right here, the Babai Valley. In fact, 8 rhinos were translocated from Chittown National Park to Bardia National Park in 2016 and 2017. And within a few months, two of the relocated females gave birth.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is certainly an encouraging sign that they adjusted well to the new habitat and the future viability of their population. So, Megan, over the years, I have helped develop population and habitat monitoring protocols as well as conservation action plans for rhinos and other large wild animals in Nepal. So I know firsthand what a tremendous impact that your support can make, our
Mm.
supporters can do actually.
That's
I'm currently working closely with our colleagues in Nepal to implement proven conservation strategies to protect the habitat and lives of greater one-horned rhino. For example, uh, restoring critical habitats to ensure that there is enough room for growing rhino population, and also protecting wildlife movement corridors from human encroachment, and also monitoring and researching rhino populations to inform conservation strategies, and lastly but not least, partnering with local communities to invest in ecotourism and job creation, uh, demonstrating that rhinos were more alive than dead.
oh.
Yeah. So together, we brought the greater one-horned rhino back from the brink. Now we need your help more than ever to keep this momentum going.
Yeah, demonstrating that rhinos are worth more alive than dead. What a line, Rinjan. I got to see some homestays, for example, where you could stay with a local family and visit the park and see wildlife. And that family would benefit so much from you being able to stay there. And the local health center received benefits from the ecotourism as well, really
Yeah.
showing the
And that is
communities.
one of the best approaches to show that rhinos alive that worth more alive than dead.
Yeah.
Ecotourism, homestays, jungle safaris, non-consumptive use. That's what we said, Megan.
Awesome. Thanks, Rinjan. Another great line you said. You said, together we brought the greater one-horn rhino back from the brink, and we need to keep that momentum going. That is exactly it. I really want to thank you for this fascinating discussion and sharing those videos. I kind of feel like I was there. Thanks very much for this discussion about rhinos and how WWF is helping to create a thriving future for this incredible creature. And to add to what Rinjan said, we do need your support. If you visit wwf.ca/rhinos, and if you donate by May 20th, your gift will be matched, making double the impact for this vulnerable giant. I think someone might even pop that in the chat, but wwf.ca/rhinos. And that's all we have for you today, folks. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, I hope you felt like me, like you were in the Jeep watching those rhinos, holding your breath so they didn't hear you. Thanks for joining us, and a great big thank you to our expert, Rinjan, for such a great conversation. Thanks, Rinjan.
Thank you, Megan, and thanks everyone for taking time to join us today.